Well, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, as the Western civilization starts to understand and accept the fact that the DIE nonsense, the inclusivity, and all the kind of crazy back changes that they've been trying to do over the last few years because of diversity, sake, and inclusion, and we're not one to offend people's fifis. Well, as that has all started to collapse in Western gaming civilization and Western gaming industry, and as we've seen so many studios close down because of this, hi Saints Row, and a lot of other things, we've seen a lot of collapses of these kind of things. We've seen how much miserably Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League has failed just absolutely abysmally, and there's been so much backlash with things like Stellar Blade, and it's been kind of nice to see a lot of the companies actually standing up there and pushing back against these things. And for a long time, Nintendo was one of those companies that completely and totally ignored a lot of the woke nonsense that's going on out there, all the acolytes of the cult, those people possessed by the spirit age trying to push an agenda. Well, Nintendo seemed more or less kind of out of that kind of stuff because Japan as a whole seems to kind of reject those kind of ideals because they are very much a traditional, in a lot of senses, country which with a lot of values and traditions and history that they all love to hold on to. And I appreciate that. That's one of the things I love about Japan. I love the fact that they are that way. I love the fact that it's extremely hard to just go over there and show up because they don't want you messing with their culture. They don't want you messing with their way of life. But it seems like, boys and girls, even with the corporate spaces that go on out there, even with the far-reaching goals of Nintendo and the way they've always been about ignoring the crowd, well, it looks like, boys and girls, at least for the latest remake of Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door, they are officially censoring things. And maybe you're okay with this kind of censorship. Maybe you think this is something that was unnecessary. Maybe it was something that shouldn't have been in the game to begin with. I don't know. But boys and girls, I'm against censorship in any way, shape, or form, especially in remakes, remasters, or any of that other kind of stuff. I believe unless you're updating the graphics or the gameplay to try to make things more enjoyable for the player overall, stories and things like that, unless you're expanding on them and adding even more to the lore, which is what you should do in like a sequel, is something that you really shouldn't mess with. I'm such a big fan of holding on to game history and improving and enjoying those and having those games, preserving those games and enjoying them for generations to come as the way they come, which so thank God for the internet. Thank God for emulators, because there's a lot of games out there that you simply can't get anymore. And thankfully for all of us, until literally all of Western civilization completely and totally collapses, the internet is forever, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be able to go out there and enjoy all of the classics, which concerning the censorship we've got going on right now with even a company like Nintendo, looks like that's probably a good way to go. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to check out this article about in the comics, see what all the juicy details are, and see if maybe this is not Nintendo proper. Maybe this is just the company that's actually doing the remake, but at the end of the day, the buck still stops at Nintendo. They're the ones responsible for this. They're the ones that are going to be responsible for the company that is doing this remake, and they're the ones that are allowing this and have to approve of the final project. And guess what, boys and girls? Nintendo signed off on this. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, share with all your friends, subscribe if you have not, or follow, depending on what platform you are, and let me know what you think about all this down below. Nintendo censors scene of enemy Goombas catcalling female party members from Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door remake. Now, here's the problem with that. They're the bad guys. So if you think there's a problem with catcalling, which I honestly think it's not really appropriate, especially if you're actually trying to pick up a legitimate woman and have any kind of relationship with her, besides just making an ass out of yourself and trying to improve and trying to maybe, I don't know, impress your friends. I don't know. I never got it to begin with, but still, they're the bad guys. They should be doing things like this. Like, what sense does this make to remove this? None. None at all. It's censorship for censorship's sake, boys and girls. In the latest case of a video game remake making an edit to its source material's original script, Nintendo has censored a scene wherein a trio of enemies aggressively catcall one of Mario's female allies from the upcoming remake of Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door. What's up, baby? Why don't you hang with us for a while? We play real nice. Is that really the extent of it? Is that really the extent of it? Is that as far as it goes? Really? Occurring early on in the red-hatted plumber's two-dimensional journey and serving as the setup to the game's live combat tutorial, the scene in question sees Mario and his newfound allies, Goombella, a friendly female Goomba, and Professor Frankly, a bespectacled and academic-minded Goomba, accosted by an assorted trio of rough-and-tumble Goombas as they attempt to make their way through the ruins found in the underneath city of Rogueport. In the original 2004 GameCube release, The 1,000-Year Door, upon crossing paths with the enemy trio, each of its members proceeded to catcall Goombella, to which she ultimately responded by telling them to kick rocks, as she should have. See, strong, independent woman that don't need no man, and she should stand up for herself. Why are you complaining? This just gives her an excuse. This just gives her a reason to be a strong, independent woman and push back against the patriarchy. What's wrong with this? Unable to handle this rejection, the Goombas then proceeded to save face by attacking both her and Mario, thus kicking off the first combat encounter to which players can actually control the party. Goomba, hey, man, what's up? Who's the hottie you got here with you? Paragoomba, what's up, baby? Why don't you hang out with us for a while? We play real nice. Spike Goomba, man, that's a fine-looking Goomba down with a tubby mustache man like that. Goombella, oh, it is, like, so sweet of you boys to think I'm cute. Seriously, yeah, guys like you make me feel like totally barfing. Now get out of our way. Goomba, ouch, that was cold. Why you got what? You too good for us? Come off it, sister. Spike Goomba, nobody zings us like that. Nobody. Let's get him. Like, what's wrong with this? She pushes back and you end up kicking their butts. What's so bad about this? However, seen in the preview of the title provided by CM Magazine, the upcoming 2024 Switch remake sees this scene play out in a much different fashion. Therein, rather than leaping to blows due to being rejected by Goombella, the enemy trio instead take issue with Mario and the company's trespassing on their underground turf. What's up? You think it's cool just to waltz your way into our underground? You surface level snobs are so stuck up. Come over here, scruffy mustache man. Can't two academics and a world famous hero wander a port town in peace? This is your usual greetings of visitor. This is from Goombella. Ouch, that was cold, says Goomba. Too good for a fight. If you ain't looking for a tussle, then stay out of the sewer. Nobody doesn't start a fight with us. Nobody, let's get them. So clearly something obviously massively transferred. And notably per a 2004 translation guide of the game's Japanese script provided by Games, Facts, and Questions user Spooky Chi in its original non-localized release, Mario's encounter with the Goombas plays out roughly the same as it would in English, while Goombella being hit on and rejecting the enemies. As of writing, Nintendo has not yet offered any public comment as to the reasons behind their censoring of Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Meanwhile, the game itself is currently on track to unfold exclusively onto new Switch consoles on May 23rd, which means it is not too late to push back against this kind of stuff, because this is ridiculous. This is absolutely silly. This is absolutely over the top. This is censorship for censorship's sakes. They're the bad guys. Okay? They're supposed to be jerks. They're supposed to say mean things. And Goombella, she literally pushes back and you get to end up kicking their butts in the process. This is stupid. This is ridiculous. And I guarantee you most people are not going to lurk more than surface deep to hear, oh, it was misogyny in the game. That's fine that they removed it. They are not going to understand the context. They're not going to read beyond the headline. And they're not going to know that. So those of you that are willing to read beyond the headline, those of you that made it this far into the video and understand the full context of what is going on here and what Nintendo is doing, speak out, speak up. Say something about it. Say how you have an issue with this and there was nothing wrong with the original source material exactly the way it was. Stop trying to change things for the sake of changing things, Nintendo, and stop bowing to these acolytes of the cult, these insane people possessed by the spirit of the age that will continue to push all of this kind of nonsense. This is just the start. This is how they do it. They inch their way in with something that doesn't seem like it's that big a deal. No big deal. It's easy. It's easy. And then they push you. And they push you, and they push you, and they push you a little farther and a little farther. And then you end up like Disney, or you end up like Marvel, or you end up like Star Wars, or you end up like the Saints Row studio, or you end up like Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. You end up like any of those things. That's what you're going to get. That's what happens. So take this warning to heed now. Put your foot down. Get rid of these people and do not listen to them. Because as they continue to push their diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense, it will continue to cause one thing and one thing only: your companies to die.